I'm pretty sure that everybody here knows about Ed Wood. You know, the guy that tried so hard to make the next blockbuster but just couldn't? He's responsible for movies like Plan 9 from Outer Space, Bride of the Monster, Glen or Glenda, and all these that I don't dare say the titles of. Probably get demonetized. A lot of people have looked at Ed Wood's films and laughed. And laughed, and laughed, and laughed, and okay, basically that's all anybody does when they watch his movies, let's be real. You would be hard-pressed to find one good thing about these movies at all. So that's why I tried to find one, and in a weird way, I think I finally found it. Granted, it's not so much about the movies themselves, it's more about how you watch them, but I'm willing to take it. I mean, it's something, and I didn't even think I'd find that. These movies are great learning experiences for young filmmakers. Because our channel focuses a lot on media, I'm willing to bet that a lot of our audience is gonna go on to make, I don't know, something media related, a show, a movie, a game, whatever it is. So this video's more geared towards them. I'm gonna tell you what you can learn from Ed Wood. By the way, this is a Patreon raffle review courtesy of MD the Dude. Thank you very much. If you too would like your idea for a Media Mementos video to come to fruition, then why not consider donating to our Patreon, which only takes $2 a month for a chance to make your idea come true. Alright, on to the video. First, don't try to compromise your vision. A lot of the time, Ed Wood would purposely change his script in order to fit whatever his financiers wanted. Now, it's one thing if you're part of a big movie studio and they have all these standards in place. For example, the crew behind The Black Cauldron really wanted to make it this all-out Ralph Bakshi-esque gritty fantasy epic. But of course, Disney wouldn't really allow that because it would tarnish their brand. See, when you're with a big studio, you kinda have to do what they say because it's their money, and also their property. A lot of people don't realize that if you're pitching a movie or a show to a big entity, that's it. You are not the owner, you are not the creator, you are signing everything away to that network or studio. In fact, this is how we got The Simpsons. Matt Groening wasn't originally going to pitch that to Fox. He was going to pitch an adaptation of his Life in Hell comic, but he knew that if that failed, he would never get the rights to his comic back. We've seen this happen very clearly with Making Fiends. Oh boy, that was not pretty. The thing is, though, Ed Wood was an independent guy. He couldn't get any studios to back his project, so he had to do it all his own. When you're an independent creator, the ball is in your court. You can do whatever you want so long as you have the means. And Ed Wood didn't really have the means, so did he just stick it out and try to improve his craft? Nope. He would randomly recast people in the middle of shooting so that he could get someone who has a lot of money, or so he thought, to play a big part, even if that person has absolutely no talent whatsoever. Most notably, during Plan 9 from Outer Space, which was funded by a California Baptist church, he changed a lot, including the title, just so they wouldn't be Karens about the whole concept of grave robbing, ooh, which, by the way, I don't really see how that's blasphemous, but hey, it was the 1950s, standards were different back then, I'm not gonna judge. But then, at the exact opposite vein of don't compromise your vision, make sure you have the ability to execute your vision, which Ed Wood did not have. He had Bela Lugosi and Tor Johnson, that was pretty cool. Eventually he got Vampira, but before that, nothing. Let's be real though, Glen or Glenda isn't really this big budget epic, nor does it really have to be. It's about a weird guy that likes Angora sweaters. But after that movie failed, somehow Ed got it in his head that he needed to make a blockbuster epic. Again, I don't know where this came from. Glen or Glenda was a huge failure. So he kept trying to make these big movies again and again, but they just wouldn't happen. My advice for this is to not start too big. Do you think Peter Jackson started off with making Lord of the Rings? No, he had to get some practice in first by making things like Meet the Feebles or Brain Dead. Then he moved on to Heavenly Creatures, which was a bit of a step up in terms of production, and then he was able to make Lord of the Rings and then all these other movies that people don't really remember. Oh, and The Hobbit, too. Let's look at Ed's filmography real quick. He's got a lot of small documentaries and episodes of Western shows, which, okay, that's how you get your start. Then he made Glen or Glenda. Regardless of its terrible quality, on paper, it's a decent first film. It has I guess, a unique style. It has a message of some sort, and above all, it's simple. Now, of course, some directors might have a lucky break and have their first film be this gigantic thing, but a lot of the times, not so much. For example, Matt Damon with Good Will Hunting. Once again, a very simple film that just so happened to be amazing, and that's what propelled him to stardom. Now back to Ed Wood. He makes Jailbait, which seems like a fine second film, but then he jumps the gun and goes to monster horror science fiction. Keep in mind, in the 1950s, this was all the rage, and these required big budgets, or else you'd get something like Robot Monster. And then we got something worse with Bride of the Monster, originally called Bride of the Atom. That's because he wasn't ready. But I've already said that enough, so let's move on to the next bit, which is probably the most depressing. A lot of you aren't going to want to hear this. A lot of you are going to think that you're going to go to film school for 4 or 5 years and get your degree and immediately get your career going. Trust me, as a college graduate, although not a film college graduate, that's not really gonna happen. As Ed Wood taught us, you're gonna have to take the McDonald's job. What's a McDonald's job, you might ask? A McDonald's job is what I like to call a job that you take purely out of necessity and not because of any sort of passion or drive. I mean, if you're like SpongeBob and you just love your fast food job, great, keep doing that, go right ahead. But a vast majority of the population's not really gonna see it your way. Ed Wood did exactly this. After failure after failure after failure, he was running out of money. Not to make more films, in his own personal life. Not helping is the fact that he became an alcoholic, and of course that drains a lot of things out of you, most notably your money. So he basically had to take a bunch of McDonald's jobs films. In other words, porn. Yep. To fuel his drinking habit and to keep himself alive, Ed Wood started directing porn. And no, I haven't seen these films, and I probably never will. The only way I ever would is if someone's holding a gun to my head, but I severely doubt that that's gonna be the first thing they ask me to do if they have a gun at my head, you know? Did Ed wanna make these things? No. Did he have any passion behind them? Probably not, but these were basically a way for him to keep himself afloat while he was trying to get his next big movie off the ground. Which never happened. I don't want to say that this will happen to some of you, but realistically, it could. I'm just saying, if you have to settle for working at McDonald's or Jack in the Box for a little while, it might be worth it. It may take some time to get your foot in the door, because now more than ever, show business is very hard to get into. You have to really, really want it. That, and also have a lot of connections, a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of patience. But just because it's improbable doesn't mean it's impossible. Have you seen the Super Mario Bros. Movie? That's the whole message. Come on, guys, it's a cinematic classic. But it's not gonna happen if you give up. So, be sure you stick to it. Have Ed Wood's sense of drive, just don't have his lack of talent, please. And perhaps the biggest thing I can tell you all that you can learn from Ed Wood, this is key. This will help save your reputation if you end up becoming a bigwig like a director or lead programmer or whatever. Have you noticed something about a lot of Ed's films? Plan 9 from Outer Space is a mid-50s space drama that somewhat resembles The Day the Earth Stood Still. Bride of the Monster is basically your typical nuclear monster destroys the town but falls in love with a woman movie. And The Sinister Urge is just a Psycho ripoff, and them's fighting words. That's my favorite movie, so you don't go there, buddy. Ed Wood was a notorious trend chaser. He never started the trends, he always followed them and did a very poor job. Why this is the most important is because of 2 reasons. One, if you keep chasing all the trends, you're not going to have your own distinct voice and style. You're going to be another cell in this homogenous blob that is the entertainment industry. No, I'm not trying to be a hippie or anything saying, you gotta be unique, man. Open up your mind, or whatever that sheep from Garfield and Friends says. What I'm trying to say is that all the greats out there that you look up to, no matter what medium, they have their own way of doing things creatively, and they never would have been recognized for that if they followed the crowd. Also, this is basically something that is a very big problem today and doesn't really seem like it's gonna go away anytime soon. This time, the big trend seems to be nostalgia and reboots, and in case you can't tell, more and more of them just keep on coming out. And when it's not those, it's trying to rip off the typical silly action drama with some serious elements that Gravity Falls and Steven Universe really helped make popular. Now you got a whole bunch of others trying to vie for that same spot now that both shows are gone. Movies aren't much better. all reboots and sequels and all that sort of stuff. Don't even get me started on action movies and superhero movies because they all gotta be like Marvel, and hot take, I don't really like those. I'm not saying they're bad. I am not saying they're bad. I want to repeat that. They're just not my thing. They're way too quippy for my taste. I do like a couple of them, and no, I haven't seen them all. No, I'm probably not going to. And no, I haven't seen Endgame, but that's a story for another day, and I doubt you want to hear about it. You want to hear about Ed Wood. That's why you clicked the video. As much as you can possibly help it, because I know that you can't always do that, especially when you're working for a studio. Try to be yourself. That's the cheesiest lesson there could possibly be, but it's true. You can get by if you're part of the homogenous blob, but you're not going to make anything spectacular. You're not going to make anything good. Oh, that was kind of depressing, so let's end this video on a lighter note. Another thing that Ed Wood can teach you, keep your friends close. A lot of the cast and crew of these movies, when they weren't financial backers, were some of Ed's personal friends, like his girlfriend or his two buddies that played these cops. It really is friends and family that can make all the difference, you know? Gotta keep them close. There's that old saying, no man's an island, that's true. You can't do it on your own. Make sure you rely on other people, and also, don't be like Ed and just shut out their opinions. If they have some constructive criticism, if they have ways of making your product better, why not listen to them? You don't have to do what they say, but it's better than just shutting out their ideas entirely and risking making something like this. Really, there's a lot you can learn from Ed Wood. These are just the basics. But my hope is that one of you, at least one of you, will walk away from this with a well thought out plan of how you're gonna make your vision come true. Well, folks, thanks for watching the video. What'd you guys think? What was your favorite thing you learned from Ed Wood? Did I miss any? Comment below and let me know, because I'm always excited to hear what you guys have to say. Real quick, I'd like to thank our Patreon executive producers, Reziel, Leaf Razor, Azarius, Whoopdoo, Michaela Bellamy, MD the Dude, Blackjack, and Ian Coin. If you too would like your name read at the end of every Media Mementos video, then consider donating to our Patreon, which has a link in the description below, and it's pretty cheap too, just saying. But before we go, it's time for the comment of the day, and this one, I love it. It comes from JJ, and it's just perfect. Thinking quickly, Media Mementos creates a Dave the Barbarian video with nothing but a squirrel, some string, and a Dave the Barbarian video. This is my kind of guy right here. JJ, man, you're awesome. Someone who gets the main meme from the show. It has to be the comment of the day. No question about that at all. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.